Janet Griswold is joining us now. Thanks so much for being with us. Talk to me about what you now do. You're in charge of elections there. Do you get a ballot prepared that has Donald Trump's name on it? Do you assume that his appeal, he says he's going to appeal, we know he's going to, they were prepared for this. So this puts it on hold and he will be on the primary ballot.
Well, thanks for having me on. This is definitely a historic case. In fact, it's historic because usually we don't have presidents trying to steal elections and then running for office again. The Colorado Supreme Court has clearly spoken. They have determined that he engaged in insurrection and is disqualified from the ballot unless the United States Supreme Court holds otherwise. So looking forward towards ballot certification, we will wait to see if this case is appealed and if the United States Supreme Court takes the case and go from there.
So if he appeals, but they haven't yet taken it, what do you do then? Because I think the state Supreme Court said that if he shows any sign of appealing, if he files an appeal, this is stayed. It's on hold.
Well, we assume Trump will appeal, and what the court order said is basically if he appeals, the case basically resets himself. It's assumed that he's on unless the United States Supreme Court intercedes or decides that, they aren't going to take the case or decide the case. So the big picture is that I think we have to wait to see how this plays out. I'm confident that we'll have great elections in Colorado, just like normal. We are considered the gold standard of the nation's elections, and I believe that will hold true for the presidential primary.
And what if the Supreme Court has taken the case, but it has not reached a decision by March 5th? So presumably on March 5th, he's in the election. But then after that primary, something could change if they then rule adversely against the Supreme Court of Colorado.
That type of scenario has played out before in Colorado, and I assume in other states where candidates are on the ballot and then later found to be disqualified. And there's mechanisms within the law to deal with that scenario. I think that the big picture, no matter if Donald Trump ends up being on the ballot or off the ballot, is the extent of how dangerous he is to American democracy. He tried to steal the presidency from the American people. He incited an insurrection with folks ramming into the United States Capitol, some of whom had plans to hang the vice president of the United States. And then he did not stop there. He spent months trying to undermine the peaceful process, the peaceful transfer of the presidency. So going forward, I think whether or not Trump is on the ballot, American voters have the ability to save democracy once again in the presidential primary and then in the general election.
But with the country so divided, does it concern you at all that other states have considered this issue and have their court system decided it differently?
Well, I want to say I agree with the Colorado Supreme Court. Trump incited the insurrection, and there is no loophole in the Constitution. To hold that there is a loophole for the president in the Constitution would basically say Donald Trump is above the law when he engages in rebellion and insurrection. I think that's wrong. Looking at other states, I wouldn't go so far as to say those courts looked at the substance of this issue. Michigan's courts decided to not look at the case, saying it's a political question. Minnesota decided that they do not review qualifications of candidates in the primary and that the case could be refiled for the general. So I do think this is the first look at the substance of whether or not Donald Trump engaged in insurrection and the provisions of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. As you well know, this might not be the final look, and we'll wait to see if the U.S. Supreme Court takes the case. And of course, as Secretary of State, I will follow whatever court decision is in place by the time I certify the ballot.